Hey, welcome back, Yvonne Wakefield's YouTube channel, where I read from the Babe in the Woods book series. Tonight we're going to be working on, again, Babe in the Woods self-portrait, the second in the series. It's a short chapter tonight. But before I begin, I wanted to just tell you a little bit. There are a sink tail presentation on these paintings, but because of the political climate, I had to kind of make some positive statements. So I made this series called When It Feels Like the World's Going to S-Pop-Pop-T, Just Put a Hello Kitty in It. So these these paintings with the Hello Kitties are actually based on my woodshed. A couple years ago when I had a hip replacement, I had some friends come up to get wood out for me, and they had kerosene lamp lights or lights, and I liked the lighting, so I did a series called Taking Them to the Woodshed, which is a derogatory term if you get taken to the woodshed. So I only wanted good things in my woodshed. So hence the Hello Kitty series. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where the political climate's going to go. But this is also a live studio. I don't know, can you see the other boys there? You can see those boys. So Teddy Bear, the little guy I just adopted, he's running around. He's on Arturo's lap right now. He might be popping in and out. All right, so what I want to do is, last session, I read chapter 2. So I had left the mountain around January after I built a cabin. Because I was getting cabin fever. I had to backpack in and out, everything on my back, miles in the snow. And I went to Eugene, Oregon, and I bought an old crummy trailer to live in. I enrolled in college, and I befriended a lot of hobos around my trailer. So Chapter 3, Diversion, it's a short one, is when I returned from a semester, must have been winter semester, because I returned to the cabin in June. So, Chapter 3, Diversion. Back at the cabin, I poked around with hand tools, chainsaw, pencils, pens, and paintbrushes, and Cat talked with Tamarack in his pretentiously self-imposed isolation. Just as I'm getting friendly again with this solitude, a new friend appears out of the blue with a bottle of Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill and inadvertently changes the course of my introspection. I'd met Shelley in an American literature class in Eugene. She turned a poem I wrote into a song pitched to the likes of her trilling heroine, Melissa Manchester. The first refrain began with, "Driving down the road, on the way to my log home, I swerved by a magpie met up with Chrome." Before I left Eugene, I'd given Shelley a penciled map along with my mailbox address, and she vowed to visit me at the cabin. She was driving to attend a 3-day women's festival in Northern California, and I am a detour, albeit out of the way. She extends an invitation to join her. Given my crammed social calendar, it's not hard to fit in an unplanned trip. The next morning, I follow Shelley to a redwood forest swarming with women in all states of wonder and dress or undress. As a native Californian, I'd been to the redwood forest many times, but I'd never seen it like this before. Hundreds of women in all shapes and colors communing under old-growth canopy. There are signs tied to trees indicating the staging grounds for workshops in tarot, macrame, herbal tinctures, and yoga. The only one that interests me is drawing. Penned in flawless calligraphy, it is the classiest sign in the forest. The workshop is taught by a tawny, 40-ish illustrator sporting coiffed blonde hair. She appeared as out of place as her would-be protege. Neither of us wore tie-dye or long skirts, and we introduced ourselves with our birth names rather than nicknames like Barry, Moss, Root, or Caesar. She thumbed through my sketchbook and liked the pen and ink drawings I'd done of Flora, Creek, and mountain views. After a slight and welcome critique, line, contrast, and pattern. Leona led me to the camp's kitchen. There she liberated a bowl and a plate from a rough board shelf and told me to trace around them, then go into the forest and fill those peripheries with whatever I felt like drawing. 3 sunny days of communicating with repetiograph pens under a canopy of old-growth cedar filled a sketchbook with pen and ink drawings that brought me home to myself again. Leona was not only a remarkable illustrator, she was also a recent divorcee with a young daughter who had relocated from Los Angeles. She planned to build a house on rural land not far from this gathering. We made a deal. She would teach me illustration techniques in trade for my woodworking expertise, which was limited to chiseling curves and shimming level. Qualifying me, I was blustering sure to help Leona build a house with exacting measures. It was a spur-of-the-moment decision that meant I would move to Mendocino, California, but I trusted my feelings and this mother who, like me, held on to her name. I'd barely seen Shelley since we arrived at the Women's Festival. She was busy mixing herbs and mushrooms. When I told her I'm leaving, she had little to say beyond, In Eugene, I canceled the next semester's enrollment, arranged for the sale of the trailer, and with the proceeds later bought a used Datsun 1600 series truck with a locking camper shell over the bed. My time away had stretched into nearly a week, and when I returned to the cabin, there was still food in Tamarac's dish, but no sign of Cat. For the rest of the summer, I searched and called day and night for Tamarack under trees of the same name. My daily chores of splitting wood and hauling water were not the same without his foreshadowing. At night, when I read, my lamp was empty and my shirt font dry. Remember, he used to nurse on my shirt. Finally, I had to leave the cabin, batten down for winter, and move on without my best friend. Northern California redwoods don't ooze vanilla sweet like the ponderosas holding my place on the mountain. These coastal conifers weave dense blankets laced with iodine mist, surf, and shell. The cabin, 600 miles in my wake, I parked the Datsun in a meadow beside a seasonal pond ringed by second-growth redwood trees. The meadow is a short walk from Leona's building site, which itself is a gorsy inland mile from the Pacific Ocean. For the time being, the little truck will be my mobile home, a single-burner propane camp stove, hurricane lamp, sleeping bag, and pad make the truck bed livable. A plywood plank balanced between the gunwales makes it workable. After a day of posturing as a carpenter, I either draw in my sketchbook or peck upon my garage sale typewriter in the evening and into the night. I'm sheltered under the flimsy camper shell, the hinged hatch open to vent fumes until the lamp is blown out. My days in Mendocino are pretty similar to my days at the cabin. From 8 until 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I do physical work, helping Leona frame her house. Under her direction, I measure and saw accurate lengths and angles. This first time I built alone is the reason people over 6 feet tall stoop a bit when entering the front door in her little house, which would be more true and level if I'd never helped her build in the first place. After a day of building, Leona critiques my drawings from the night before, points out corrections and suggestions, new techniques. Problems identified, I return to the meadow, boil water for tea, and eat Triscuits and cheese. Sitting cross-legged on the tailgate, I draw from my mistakes. When it grows too dark to see or fog rolls in, I retreat inside the camper and prime and ignite the hurricane before that was borrowed from the cabin. Before blowing out the lamp, I wrap my sketchbook in a plastic bag. By morning, moisture is dripping down the thin sheet metal walls. My sleeping bag and skin as slick as the bronchial cough setting in since the first night I bedded down under a maritime air mattress. The truck canopy offers only protection from rain and the heavy coastal fog that sometimes rolls in so quick and so thick a person could get lost walking in it outside. I knew this for a fact. All right, that was a short chapter. And I read and I ad-lib things when I read, but I just also want to let you know again that these books are all available on audiobooks, and they're narrated perfectly by the actor Kay Webster. I want you to see Teddy. Teddy, come here. Come here, Teddy. Come here. Come, Teddy. Come. Well, maybe he doesn't want, he loves Arturo. Arturo, throw him over here. I just wanted, if you remember a few weeks ago, I think when we had him, he was about half the size. So I read his medical records, and when he was thrown out in December at the gas station, he was 2 pounds, and now he's a whopping 6. I don't know how much bigger he's going to get, but he is a little lover. And I just taught him to run yesterday in tandem with Zachary. I put him on a tandem leash. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed tonight's reading. Next week's going to be a lot longer chapter. Again, please subscribe to the channel, review the podcast, say you like it, buy the books, and adopt puppies. All right. And stay hydrated. Bye-bye.